We left off Yud Chesed Beis. Chesed Beis in Gitten. We had a machlokes Rabbi Yochanan Shlokish. If a person says, "I want you all to sign on a get," so the question is, when he says all of them should sign, are they all signing as witnesses, or two are witnesses and the others are only a condition that if they don't sign, the get is not a valid get? What's the halachic difference? If they don't sign on the same day that it was written, that it was dated. Two sign on the day it was dated, the other witnesses signed the following night. Well, let's say two of the witnesses are korv apostle. They're not qualified to be witnesses, and the first two are qualified. According to Rabbi Yochanan, it's not a problem, because they're not signing as witnesses. According to Reish Lakish, it is a problem, because they're signing as witnesses. This Tosfos we'll see soon. Okay. Who da'amalu la'sora? Gemara tells over a story, 4 lines from the bottom. Person says to 10 people, "Kisu get lishti. I want you to write a get for my wife. Chosun beitrei minayu biyomei." So 2 of them signed on the day that it was dated. 2 of the 10. Ve'enoch mikan va'asor yomim. And the others, over a 10-day period, they signed. Also, coming to Rabbi Shua Levi, that's a question. They came for Rabbi Shua Levi to rule on the get. Is it valid or not? Because the Mishnah tells us, "Nechtav v'yom v'nechtam b'layla." If it's written during the daytime, the date is, and the signing is the next day. This is signed not on the day that it was dated. It's possible. So the question is, since 2 signed and the others, the remainder, signed on the next day or over a 10-day period, is it valid? Omar lei. So he said his very famous statement. People always say this. Reb Shimon is sufficiently credible that b'shas adchak, that if you have no choice, you rely on him. Although he's a minority opinion. Chacham say that if it's written during the day, it's signed at night, it's possible. Reb Shimon says it's kosher, it's valid. But now, so right, what's shas? Let's say the husband left. You have no other get. You gave the woman the get. And now the husband left. He's not here. So what do? Right? She's in the bind. So Reb Shimon, since he validates the get, b'shas adchak, when you have no choice, you can rely on him, and the get's considered a valid get. It's not possible. Kedayu Reb Shimon listen b'shas savrash. He said, "What's the shas adchak? She'olach ze ledarko. Oh, nisis kvar begetze. She's already married. See, if a woman marries with a get which has no date in it whatsoever, okay, those are the 3 gittin that rabbinically we invalidate. We invalidate that get. Here, according to Reb Shimon, the get has a date. And we say Reb Shimon holds it's kosher, it's valid. Normally we don't rely on Reb Shimon. But if you have no choice, it's not, his position is a baseless position. It has credibility. So therefore, we have no choice, we rely on him. So there is a question. Reb Shimon el alter. Reb Shlokish said, even according to Reb Shimon, that's only if what? If it was given immediately, if it was signed immediately. Here they signed over a 10-day period. Lo. It's not valid. So how did Reb Shua and Levi say that according to Reb Shimon, we're going to validate the get, although it was extended over a 10-day period? Whoever said, Reb Yochanan said, Reb Shimon says even over a 10-day period. Why? Because he says there's a call. Because people will know that it wasn't the day, it was signed not on the day that it was dated. Right? There's a call, word it gets out. But Rish Lakish says no, he rejects that. So Mar says, Reb Yochanan is fairly. That Reb Shua Levi, regarding that aspect, he rules like Reb Yochanan. That Reb Yochanan is understanding Reb Shimon, that even if it's signed over a 10-day period, it's considered valid according to Reb Shimon. So Mar says, Vom Reb Yochanan Shnai Misham Eidim V'Kulam Misham Tanai. Correct? He says he's of the opinion that the subsequent witnesses are not signing as witnesses. It's only, as Rasha, to embarrass her. It's a Tanai. It's a divorce if you give me so much money by a certain date. Same thing. That he wants, the additional witnesses, not they should be qualified as witnesses, but rather they should just sign. On that, the Gemara says, Bahikar Reb Shlokish Firli. He's ruling, Reb Shua Levi rules like Reb Yochanan and Reish Lakish. When a person says, I want you all to sign, it's witnesses, as witnesses. Therefore, it's Karva Apostle, the get is not valid. Correct? If I want, even though 2 witnesses is sufficient on Torah level, man says, I want this get, I only will value the get only if there are 10 qualified witnesses to sign. If they don't sign, if let's say they're not all qualified, it's not a get. The husband set that condition. They have to be qualified witnesses. Why? That's what he wants. Rabbi Yochanan says no. When a person says, I want them, in addition to the others, they don't have to be qualified witnesses. So they have, even if they're related, even if they're not qualified, but the signatures have to be there, it's no worse than making any other condition. I want you to visit my mother if you want the get to be a get. That's what he says. She doesn't visit his mother, the get's not a get. It's totally unrelated. Doesn't make it, but that's the condition he set. So in regard to that, he doesn't rule like Rabbi Yochanan. It's not a Tanai. But in regard to if it's extended over a 10-day period, since there's a call, word gets out that it was not signed on the day that it was dated, therefore it's valid.
So there are three interpretations of Reb Shimon.
Pardon me, three?
One is that the 10-day period is not a 10-day period, but it's immediately following. Second is that Reb Shimon would not apply in the case of a 10-day period. Or three, that the Reb Shimon in the case would be that the Reish Lakish's understanding that only two witnesses would be needed, but
No, he's just he's ruling. Reb Shimon Leib is ruling like Reish Lakish. It says that but the two position Reish Lakish, one's unrelated, but it's unrelated. But one's unrelated to the other. Correct? It's Adam. Now the question is, what about if it's extended over a period? Is it a problem with Reb Shimon? The answer is, Reish Lakish says it is. Reb Yochanan says it's not. Okay. The Gemara had a question earlier. What happens if the first two witnesses will carve a puzzle? According to Reish Lakish, that when a man says, I want 10 witnesses to sign, kulchem, he wants them to be witnesses, so therefore if it's carve a puzzle, it's not valid. But according to Rabbi Yochanan, that it's Tanai, Gemara had a question, what about if the first two witnesses are carve a puzzle? Yeah. 1 second. And the subsequent. So the Gemara says, on a Torah level, it's not a problem, because it's Tanai, but osi l'chlufe b'shtoros. Because people will say that this document, who were the witnesses, the first two, and the subsequent was the Tanai. So people say, regarding other documents, even if a person is karva posel, he's related or not qualified, he's a valid witness. So therefore, rabbinically, we invalidate the get. Right? That's what the Gemara said. So Tosas asks, there's a get makusha, a kohen, when he gives a get, later the Gemara says, it's made in a way where it's over an extended period of time. Because a Kohen, if he divorces his wife, he can't remarry her. So we're trying to delay the process as long as we could. So he should rethink his situation, that maybe he'll change his mind before he gives the get. It's called get makusha. You fold it. Get makusha has 3 witnesses in it. We say 2 is not enough. We want you should have 3. Again, to make it more complicated, to delay the process. And over there we'll see that even if the aid is puzzle, one of the 3 is puzzle, even the first one signs is puzzle, it's valid. We don't invalidate it. So if that's the case, Tosas asks him, Tomer, Maishno be getting the kusher. The Omar Kamam Besofa Bezorik, Yiboy Chosim Korav, Bein Bitchila, Bein Bemsa Besof. Even if the witness who's related is the first witness to sign, you have 3. And even if the first one to sign is related, it's valid to get. Why are we concerned? Since Mikar Adin, you only need 2 witnesses. And the third witness is only to delay the process. But people think, so who are the witnesses? The first 2? And since one of the first 2 is a korov or puzzle, it will validate this elsewhere. It becomes problematic. So you see, we're not concerned. We don't make a gzera. So why over there don't we make a gzera? And over here we do make a gzera. We're concerned it'll be confused with other documents.
But that's a Kohen. Why would you use a Kohen with a...
Not a Kohen, not a Kohen.
A
Kohen's get needs witnesses, yes or no? Okay, like Yisrael's get needs witnesses.
3 witnesses.
Good, doesn't make a difference. But factually, who was the first witness who signed? A korov apostle. So people say, who are the primary witnesses? The first one who signs, he's the primary witness. Like regular Yisrael, you have 10. We have 10. You need 10. You don't need 10, because the man said he wanted 10. So the first 2 who sign are what? A korov apostle. Even one signs is korov apostle. The Gemara says, according to one opinion, according to Rabbi Yochanan, it's possible to get. Because people will confuse this with shar shtoros. They'll say that a korov apostle is qualified to be a witness. Yet by beget makusher, l'chatchila, we allow the korov apostle to be the first one to sign. Why are we concerned about this confusion? That's Tos's question.
We have this before. We have a group of witnesses, and the first one's in all the way down, and then you come to the last. There's no concept that the last should be looking. Focus should be on the last two. You would have a case where, like here, you would have thought that.
Let's just see Tosa's answer. V'yesh lomar, he says something interesting. Everybody understands that you don't need more than 2 witnesses. So let's say you have a get of a non-Kohen. You require 2. So why the 10? Because the man said, I want 10. So if Me'ikar Adin, you only need 2. Rabbinically, Doraisa, so why? So what? So who are the primary witnesses if you only need 2? There's no reason that you don't, even on a rabbinic level, you don't need me 2. So who are the primary witnesses? The first 2 were signed, the primary witnesses. Wait a second. By get Mekush by the Kohen, everybody understands you only need 2. But get Mekush with the Kohen, you need 3. As a result of that, the first witness who signs is not necessarily the primary witnesses. Because you need 3. There's no such thing as 3. So what is it? It's purely delay. So therefore, even the first witness won't necessarily be viewed as the primary witness. If you need 2 and you don't need more than 2, and the only reason why you have more than 2 is because that's what the husband wanted. So which witnesses do you sign first? The primary witnesses. So if you allow the first 2 witnesses to sign, it should be Korban Puzzle. What are people going to say? The primary witness could be Puzzle. And that creates a problem. So what did it say elsewhere? Such a witness is qualified. Therefore, that's Asil Chlufe, therefore it could be confused with other stories for that reason.
So are we saying then that the 3 witnesses are all primary witnesses?
There's no such thing.
There's no such thing.
So therefore it's rabbinically. So therefore being the first one to sign doesn't mean that he's a primary witness. Because there's no such thing as 3 primary witnesses. Let's read inside. The aid of Shlosha, there are 3, you're supposed to have 3, and 2 of the 3 are primary witnesses. Therefore it's not confused with other documents. Everybody agrees this get of an ordinary Jew only needs 2. You only need 2 witnesses. They'll say, so the others are purely conditional witnesses for a condition, not that you need witnesses. So who signed first? The primary witnesses. Therefore, therefore it could be confused with other documents. So Tosas asks, Avokosher. It says that if we'll see what the case is, he had multiple relatives sign on the get, besides 2 kosher, it's valid. Umash behedje perka megarish, the milsa chizkiyo gabi milu shnei shitim. Yeah, what happened? Let's say the witnesses sign a number of 2 lines on the 3rd line after the text of the get. You have the text of the get, then there's a gap, on the 3rd line, the kosher witness signs. So Chizkiyo says the space, those 2 lines, you could fill in, even Kroven could sign it, to fill it in up to the text. So if now somebody's going to look at this get, what are they going to say? Who are the first witnesses? Apostle witnesses. So again, they're going to say, so you see, the primary witnesses, and Chizkiyo says that's kosher, valid, even on a first class level. Why are we concerned the same thing? Chizkiyo's not concerned, Asalach Lufi, let's see. Vish koleidim. אבל הוסם שהשטוס קשור שקרוב חסום מתחילו יאמרו, או שמוצו תחילה, החתימו תחילו, או אחרי כן, חוסבו למילוי. Omer Rabbeinu Tam. So he says something, it was known. There's a famous story with the Rogachev. The Rogachev he had no patience for nonsense. And the Rogachev, he had a very, very sharp tongue. And, there's a famous story of Baron Kotler. When he was 21 years old, he was already a Rosh Yeshiva in Kletsk. And Baron Kotler was a Godel Yisrael, he was 21, so he wanted to visit the Rogachev. So when he introduced Rogachev, asked him who he was before he started speaking. He says, Ich bin a balabos from Kletsk. He was an ordinary person from Kletsk. So after he spoke to him for whatever it was, he said, so what do you say? Ganz fine for a balabos from Kletsk. That's what the Rogachev said of Baron. It's pretty good for a balabos. That's not any talent, not too bad. Right, not too bad. It's like, I'll give you an example. Okay, you got a chazan, you have somebody who's not a chazan, goes over for Rosh Chodesh to say hello. Okay, it's not bad. Okay, for not a chazan. Okay. So the Rogatchover, someone asked him, he wrote a sefer, authored a sefer, so he wanted haskama, approbation on the sefer. So he wrote a very beautiful haskama. Then he left about 6 lines, and then he signed on the bottom. There was a big gap between the end of his approbation and signing. So they asked him. Normally, he signed right underneath. It says Midvar Sheker Tirchok. You know, that was his response. Famous word from the Rogatchover, right? So I'm saying, but on a get. But it's interesting. Recently, it happened. Rabbi Kalatsky wrote something, and then afterwards he signed immediately under the where it was finished, whatever it was. So they asked him why, and it's halacha in Shulchan Aruch. When you sign anything, you can't leave a space. Why can't you? Because a person could fill in something before you put your signature. So let's say whatever's written there, you're agreeable to that. What was written in the text. Let's say somebody should insert something afterwards, and your signature under that, so you're actually signing on whatever's written before your name. So therefore, whenever you sign, there's halacha. You should always sign without it. There should not be any space between your signature and whatever's written before your signature. Okay?
So how does that get? There's a space in which they put in all the signatures. How did the space get there? It was signed by somebody. The first 2 people who signed it left space there. So it shouldn't.
We'll see. Omer Rabbeinu Tam, the Kevon, the Eidia getting chos min zebelo zer, Savri sherishonim him ikor edus, vi shechosma rishonim v'nei kol ha'edim. Aval hosam b'shar shtoros, sheroin shekrovim chasumim tchilo, yom ro'osam shemotzo tchilo hechtimu tchilo, achrei chosma limidui. The Gemara, we had a Mishnah over there earlier. If you have a kusi is not qualified to sign on an ordinary document. Why? Because kusi may not be, well, the kusi geriemis. Kusim originally were valid converts. So you have 2 types of kusim. You have a kusi who's a chover, I mean he behaves himself, he lives properly as a Jew, and you have kusi, the average kusi did not observe properly. So ordinary kusi is posel edus. So let's say you have a document, it says by a get, that if you have normally the Mishnah says kusi and shtoros, apostle. But on a get, if you have a kusi, it's valid. So the Gemara says, why? Because it's speaking where you have the signature of a Jew who's always a Jew signed after the kusi. So why? Because a Jew will not allow a kusi to sign before him unless he's a chaver, unless he's like an elder. He's really a special person. And since by Gitten, one witness doesn't sign only in the presence of the other witness, doesn't sign unless he's in the presence of the other witness. So therefore, it's not that he left a gap. He left a space. By other shtaros, a person, if he leaves a space, says, I'll leave a space for maybe somebody who's more prestigious than I am. He's older than I am. But it creates a problem. Because if the person signs before him is of somebody, he may think that an elder will sign, but the one who's writing the document may have somebody else sign. Therefore, if you find a kusi, we invalidate the shtar. But by a get, since by a get, nobody allows anybody to sign before, they all have to be present when they will put the signatures. So if the Yisrael allowed the kusi to go before him, that means he saw that it wasn't an ordinary kusi. He was a kusi chaver. He was a kusi upstanding. Therefore, that's the reason by get is valid. Yeah, that's what he's speaking about.
Kusi would say, well, no, dying.
A doctor. No, but it says no. It depends. But it says, but if he's a chaver, he was. Okay, you review the Gemara Yud. Go back into Yud. Okay. Let's go further. Mishnah. B'chol kosvin.
Why would the last two be, the last 2 witnesses of the get, they were valid? Why wouldn't they be both? I understand. The model case is that you only have 2, therefore the first 2 you would be focused on the first 2. But logically, logically you can go all the way to the end.
No, you can, but the question is how are people going to perceive it?
No, I understand.
Which 2 were the primary witnesses?
Right.
People would say, first you got it out of the way. You established the first 2 witnesses. And the rest of for tonight.
What we said is this closeness that we're not worried about the first 2 might be case of the get
We're talking about an ordinary get. An ordinary get. So
So
we're two or enough. No, two or enough. By get makusher, two are not enough. A carvel puzzle by an ordinary get. Because if you only need two, when does he establish the two? Immediately. No, rabbinically, the two opinions. Are we concerned? Osil chlufi not. It's a shayla la had a rule, according to Rabbi Yochanan. Bechol kosvin. One could use any type of writing material, meaning ink-wise, because the different types of inks. B'dio, there's something called dio. Dio that we use is generic. It means ink. Besam, it's some kind of resin. Besikro, what about it's written with red? The resin is red, not black. Bekumusukant kantum, we'll see every one of these materials that we use for writing, it leaves an indelible impression on the paper or the parchment that it cannot be erased. Because if it could be altered, we don't rely on it, because you never know, it may have been altered. So every one of these types of writing materials cannot be altered. And anything which leaves a lasting impression on the paper.
That means there's other
There are other things that you can, that it evaporates.
So why don't they just write?
Okay, we'll see the Gemara. And kosa lo b'mashkin, use other juices. Lo b'peiros, mashkin means liquids. B'peiros is fruit juices. Lo b'chol dov shein miskayim. Again, same question. Say kol dov shein miskayim. Ala kol kosin. Now, what about the material you write on? What is the background? You know, the surface that you're writing on. Ala kol kosin ala ole shel zayis. You want to write on an olive leaf. Tosis Rashi writes, it's where the leaf was detached. Right? We had the Gemara before in Daf Gimel. It says v'kosav v'nosan. There cannot be any interruption between the writing and the giving. So let's say you write it on a branch of a tree or a leaf, and then you have to cut it. You have to detach it. So there's an interruption between the writing and the giving, and it has to be you're able to give it immediately. So therefore, the leaf that you write it on has to be a detached leaf. Cannot be attached when you write it. Similar to the branch, you can't write it on the branch and then sever the branch and give the branch to the woman. Al keren shel poro. You can write the text on the horn of a cow. V'nosen saporo, you give the whole poro. We'll see. What happens if you write on the horn and then you cut the horn out and give it to the woman? It's not valid. Because there's an interruption between the writing. But let's see, you write on the horn and give the woman the whole cow. So there's no interruption between the writing and the giving. Because the Torah says v'kosav v'nosan. Because we had the Gemara on Daf Gimel. There cannot be any interruption in the writing and giving. Immediately you have to be able to give it without any interruption. Okay, correct? Correct.
So what about the man, the agent who has to go over the high seas?
No, but that's a circumstance. No, because if the woman would be here, it's no different than the husband. He's the husband. Let's say the husband let's say she's living down the street. You can ask the same question. Because if she would be here, you could give it immediately. Nothing has to be done other than finding the woman. We're talking about the get itself has to be given the moment it's written. You're able to give it. The get, we're talking about the object. Al yad shel eved. What about you go and you tattoo the get on the hand of an eved? V'nosles eved. And then you give the eved. The Gemara Tosa speaks about it. What's tattooing? We just had in this week's parsha. What is tattooing? It's a two-stage process. What is it? First you perforate the skin, and then you inject the perforation with ink. Let's say you just do the first. Let's say a person takes a brand and he brands a human being. Did he violate the law of tattooing? I mean, he tortured the man, right? But he left an indelible imprint, mark on the person that he's going to have. So let's say you write the text of getting, you brand it into the person, and then you give the evet to the woman. She's divorced. You have the text. That text cannot be altered. It's indelibly emblazoned, engraved in the man's skin. So Tosas says it's speaking about he just perforated, he didn't inject it with dye. So there's no provision of ksovas kaka. Sure, it's cool. Why not? That's writing.
Tattooing is also on the Jew to do on any time.
But Eved is Chav Mitzvah Kisha. So he's the Eved Kanani. We're talking about Eved Kanani. Right? Tosas asks a question. We want to discuss this. Minchas Chinuch asks, what's the halacha? We rule Chatzi Shirasim in Torah. If you want to eat a sliver of non-kosher meat, Torah violation. Because we learn from the Kol Chalev, any amount. Right? So Tosas answers, the reason why you're not in violation of writing a tattoo, because he only did the perforation, he didn't inject it with ink. When was that? So he asked, so what's the Chatzi Shir? Right? He did half of which ultimately leads to the complete.
It's not tattooing.
Right. See, when you eat lesser than the full measure, you're eating non-kosher. You just need to eat enough. Here, tattooing is perforation and injecting with dye. He didn't do that. So you haven't yet done an act of tattooing. The perforation is a preparation to the tattooing. The injecting of the dye, that's called tattooing. That's why it's not a Chatzi Shir, but it's interesting. We discussed it, some Machlokes Rishonim. What exactly is the rationale why is Chatzi Shir Osman Torah? Is it because, let's say old Chatzi Shir is mutar min Torah. Eat less than a size is permitted. Now if you eat a full size, it's also. It's illogical. If you say that less, it has a degree of prohibition, except it's not enough to be liable for punishment, for malchus, okay? Because it has to reach a certain critical mass to be able to affect you to that degree. Therefore, only then are you liable for punishment. So that, I'll give you an example. The Gemara says, and we had a chulin, that basar v'cholav is chidush. The Gemara says, we'll learn from basar v'cholav tam kiker. Right, that if you're able to taste something in a mixture, although you can't locate the source of the taste, then it's nissa d'oraisa, tam kiker. Correct? Someone says, we're going to learn from basar v'cholav. Can't learn it. You're not able. Why? Because basar v'cholav is chidush. Milk is kosher, meat's kosher. You combine them, it becomes also. How does such thing happen? How do you have two permitted substances, and when you combine them, creates isser? It's chidush. You can't you can't extrapolate from a chidush. So therefore, even if you taste the milk and the meat, right? Although you can't locate the substance which is absorbed, it is tam kiker, right? But nevertheless, because it's chidush, you can't draw from that. So it's chidush. Everything is permitted up to a kazayis. So how does it become also when you reach the critical mass of kazayis? Evidently, even in the less, there must be part of the more. Except you haven't reached the critical mass to have that intensity to be subject to punishment. That's some Rishonim. Okay? Others learn it's a siyog midoraisa. Now the halacha is when it comes to eating, what's the halacha? If you eat something kedei chilus pras, let's eat something not kosher, and you eat it within, let's say, a 3-minute time frame, and you're forewarned. What's the halacha? You get malchus. But you didn't eat it. Eating is you have to eat it kazai, so you ate it over an extended period of time. Right? Let's say you would eat over a 15-minute period, a size of non-kosher meat. You're not subject to malchus. Because it was eaten over, the time was too extended. But if it's a very small time frame, let's say the 3 minutes, that's considered you ate it at one time. So let's say a person would eat a sliver of non-kosher. The Torah says, we don't want you to eat a sliver of kosher. Non-kosher, why? Because there's a chance you may eat within that time frame more, which will be considered one act of eating. So what we're talking about, this is a zero on the Torah level. The Torah doesn't want you to eat less because it may become eating more within that time frame. That's the way some Rishonim learn. It's a Torah offense. So it comes out it's a little bit difficult. But the case of ksovas kaka was saying, what is chatzi shiur, where you do eat less, and the less may become more. We're not permitted, perforation is okay. He perforated the get, he didn't inject it with the dye. But what happens if he injects it with the dye? Right? Now you've written the ksovas kaka. Now you've tattooed the person. understand that one's a preparation of the other. I mean, you're almost there. So the question is, the Torah should have prohibited the first part, because it's the second part, it may lead to the second part. Okay?
So,
The Torah was less concerned. No, it's offense.
If you don't want to, just
I understand that. What happens if you don't want to, within 3 minutes, to complete eating the Zayas? Torah says, nevertheless, Torah says you're not permitted.
But now that's it.
the same argument in the Dharma, the two-stage tradition, correct? It's a position that it's a position that he won't even let you violate the first.
But that's rabbinical. That's, yeah. What do you want to say?
If you plant the wheat, are you going to worry that you might plant something else behind it?
No, it has no relevance to this. No.
But there's two separate things.
Perforation is in preparation of injecting. Who perforates himself? This is stage one of tattooing. Planting wood has no relevance to Kiloya Kerem, that you're going to plant a vineyard right next to it. Right? It's not. Okay.
So, Rabbi, for those who say that Chatzi Shir is also in the Torah, what would happen if a person was forewarned not to do it, and he did it?
He'll get malchus. And he eats.
For Chatzi Shir.
No.
I'm saying Chatzi Shir.
Nothing.
So he's warned, and he's violated the Torah.
The liability is only if you eat a full measure.
But he did.
Chatzi Shir is not a lav. It's not a lav.
What is it?
It's called an Isser Aseh.
Isser Aseh.
Isser Aseh means it's derived from the positive,
Can we just draw that out?
which means it says kol chelev, lo chelev, kol, any amount.
Okay.
So it's a derivative of the statement of, it says lo tochelu.
That's right.
Right. It's not a lav. It's not a lav. It's an inference from what the Torah says, the full measure.
But you're not allowed to do it.
That's Rabbi Yochanan. We rule like Rabbi Yochanan. It's machlokas Rabbi Yochanan.
Sounds like a law to my
But it's
ear.
not. It's not. Also means it's forbidden. So there's no, is it osam in Torah? Is osam in Drabanan? We rule it's osam in Doraisa. We had a Rashi in Shabbos. The halacha is to be in violation of writing. How many letters do you have to write? You have to write 2. What happens if a person writes a letter Friday night, and he writes the second character before Shkia, Shabbos? So the Gemara says Shabbos is mitzarif. Since both letters were written on the same, both characters written on the same Shabbos, Shabbos combines the letters. It's as if you wrote both of them consecutive, one after another. It's the concept. So they have Rashi, it's Chatzi Shir. Writing one letter on Shabbos is Torah violation, because it's within the realm of possibility. You might write that second letter on Shabbos before sundown.
But you wouldn't say that with eating on Shabbos, Chatzi Shir. You wouldn't combine them.
No, because eating is based on this pras. You have to eat within 3 minutes. Beyond 3 minutes, but Torah says Shabbos, you combine. A person cooks. Let's see, cooking to be in violation, it has to be a grower, the size of volume of a fig. You cook at the beginning of Shabbos half a fig, volume-wise. Then, but towards the end, you cook the other half. They're combined. The person has to bring the chatos.
Different figs?
No, not a fig. The volume of the meat or vegetable, whatever it was. Right? The volume, a half a fig. Friday night, 12 midnight, before sundown, the second volume. So he has to bring the chatos. See, forewarning, he won't get the death penalty, because the forewarning has to be within the period of time. Has to be associated with the act. The second act is too beyond, but unless he did it inadvertently. Inadvertently, he'd have to bring a chatos. He did a full malach on Shabbos, of cooking, of writing, whatever it may be.
If you cook half of the fig, is that without any forewarning? Then for the second half, he was forewarned that if you
It's not going to, of course not. Of course not. He wasn't forewarned in the first half. Same thing. But if he did it inadvertently, he'd have to bring a chatos. What do you?
How do these connected? You cook a piece of meat Friday night, Chatzi Shir, you put the carrot or whatever, something else. Shabbos afternoon, half Chatzi Shir.
Okay, let's talk. Let's say you cook the half a kazayas of meat and half a kazayas of carrot at the same time.
Yeah, I'm saying,
Wait a minute, I'm saying, again, Torah says you're not permitted to cook on Shabbos. Finished. What's cooking? Cooking is the volume of a fig. Grogris. Did you cook a grogris on Shabbos? The answer is yes. Doesn't say at the same moment. On Shabbos, you're not permitted to cook a grogris.
It doesn't be one object.
As long as it's a food item. That's it. Doesn't make a difference. Right?
And then going back to the letters, you wrote one letter
Friday night.
Friday night, you wrote another letter in a different document.
Doesn't make a difference. The Mishnah says, I'll give you an example. What happens if you write a letter on one wall and a letter on another wall? The letters cannot be joined together.
Correct.
You're not chayiv. They have to be able to be joined together. Says Gemara says, if you take two documents and since they could be put together, right? That's considered you've written two letters. The two letters have to be able to be associated one with another. Here we're talking about the time period. They were not written consecutive, one after another. Does make a difference. Torah says you're not permitted to write on Shabbos. What's writing? Two letters. Did you write two letters? Two characters you've written. If that's the case, you have liability. Also not. You're not chayiv. You won't be chayiv. Okay? Yeah.
As they say, moving fast forward, this list of all the things that you can do and not do.
Materials.
Right.
Materials ones.
Yes. What about today? In today's, you record your get on a tape.
It has to be a document. The Torah says you have to write. Writing is recording is not writing.
Uh-huh.
It says kosav has to be written.
Even if the writing, the recorded document, you can now protect it by not being able to erase it.
Doesn't make a difference. Okay. Now the Mishnah says dio. Dio qualifies as the material that you write with. Dio, diusa. So, if you lived in Bavel, in Babylon, you know what dio is? Diusa. This is the story like in Rav Moshe. Moshe first came to the United States. He didn't understand English. His wife was exposed to the language. She understood English. So, if you look at the ingredients of a pretzel, it says flour, water, yeast, and salt. You look at the ingredients of bread, flour, water, and yeast. So somebody called it was a shayla halacha many years ago. There's a question with the sour pretzel. Do you make a motzi, same as zonos? So somebody called up Rav Moshe in 1942 and says, "Welche broch machen wir pretzel?" She says to his Rebbetzin, "Was is a pretzel?" That's what she said. Amin mezonis. Famous story of Moshe and his wife. Same thing. Dio. What's dio? Diusa. In the vernacular, it's called diusa. Now you know what dio is. Like Rashi says throughout Chumash, according to the Old French, that's the way it was said in French. You want to know what it is? Sam samo. Sam sikro. What's sikro? This is red ink. Omer Rabbi Chana sikroso shmo. It's known as sikroso. Kumus kumo kankantu. Omer Rabbi Chana omer Shmuel charso dushkefi. We'll stop here.